Start streaming. Yep. Alright, we're streaming as well. We're live, morning, or evening, or very evening if you happen to be in the United Kingdom. This is the Galactic Gamers Coalition. We're about to start for reals. This is the video version which won't be edited. The MP3 will be produced at some point in the future, whenever I can get around to it, which will probably be quite quick actually. Chill will be our host. We have a magnificent panel. Magnificent. To talk through some stuff in the lead up to coffee. Anything else to cover before we start, Max?
Nope, I'm good.
All right.
Hi, everyone.
And anyone else? Anything else we want to... Any other topic to add? Ideally, we want to keep this to an hour, following Chuck and Brian's lead, because less editing. But I would like to talk through all of these topics, say what you want to say, particularly on the Flashpoints and operations, because that one will be interesting.
Tio, chat is saying there's no sound from you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, not that I'm saying anything interesting.
Come on, now, Tio, everything is taken interest in. You're delightful.
How's that? No.
Somebody say that they can now hear you, so I'm assuming that it's working right if you did.
Alright, so they can. That's amazing, because it's not showing up as anything now. Alright.
No, they're actually saying they can hear everyone apart from you. There's quite a big delay, so I can't tell.
Yeah, okay.
Let's do a quick check on the stream, make sure the stream's going okay.
Testing. Fuck.
Once I do that, I'm going to tweet it out as well.
The chat room.
I'll pick a random device and it'll probably work. Test. No. Sorry. Oh, we won't let this stop us. I mean, we're coming through on the Hangout, which is what really matters. Unless someone else wants to stream, and we'll rehost on OotiniCast. Chill, do you want to do it?
Hang on a sec.
Sorry for the delay, gentlemen.
Trying to get the extra window to fit right.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Let me... Oh, okay. I know how to fix it. Forget that. Why? I'm going to have to just stop the stream briefly.
Okay, stream looks fine. I'm going to tweet this out.
Alright, I've restarted the stream, and people should be able to hear me. Alright, everyone who's recording, I will be recording. Let's not forget that. Okay. Yeah, sorry, tweet. Right. Did you tweet it out, Chill? I might just retweet you.
I just did. You can if you want. There's actually so many people on the panel, I didn't even try to fit them all. I just said, lots of great people on the panel.
Follow Friday.
Yeah, exactly. It probably would look like one.
Okay. I've retweeted as well.
All right. Is everyone good to go then?
Anyone not good to go?
No,
As long as you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Everything sounds good on mine? Okay.
Oh, sounds perfect.
Cool.
Tio, they're saying you're a little low in the chat room.
Oh.
You're a little bit quiet here as well. Comparatively.
You seem a little quiet in the Hangout, not super
How's
quiet.
that?
Good.
Better? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just the advantage of having a mixer. Alright. Okay, Chill. Let's make it happen.
All right, going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the Galactic Gamers Coalition, Day Wanawanga. I'm your host, Chill, along with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And we got lots of good people on the panel today. Let's start with Panelist. How you doing, Panelist?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me here this evening. I appreciate it.
Great. How's Beyond the Stars going?
Going well. Always playing the janitor and doing cleanup duty with all the various antics. So it's been fun to step up and take part in the community in this fashion. So sorry if I'm a little nervous and babble on.
No worries.
The podcast. There's a reason why I don't. When I stream, I don't have my webcam on.
I understand. Yes, and there's a reason why my webcam just kind of aims at the ceiling, so it's all good.
Please ignore the mess behind me.
Yeah. It's not a coincidence. All right. So hey, next up is Chuck from Bad Feeling Podcast. Hey, Chuck.
Greetings. Thanks for having me. Awesome. Good to be here. I'm back from vacation, so I just came from the wonderful world of Disney where they only had one Force Awakens shirt, and I'm sad.
Well, it's always nice to have your mighty vocal tones on the show.
Thank you. I'll be playing the role of Donald Trump on this episode, so be ready for many things about immigrants and women. It'll be fabulous.
Excellent.
Awesome. Are things down Texas way?
Pretty awesome, actually. I finally got back in the game this week, or just the past couple days off from vacation, so I'm starting to feel normal again.
Beautiful. All right. Next up is Snave. Snave from Gamescom and Better Than Cross Server, and of course, streaming like a maniac. How you doing, Snave?
Yeah, I'm good. Cheers. Thank you very much. How are you?
Fine.
Maniac.
I'm not quite sure whether to take it like a maniac or stream or something.
So, how are your podcasts coming along? What any news on those fronts?
They're going very well. Potato and mine have managed to crack the 4.0 PTS, so there's an absolute metric ton of information coming from them currently. It's almost too much to keep up with. There's a lot of changes coming, so we're all hands to the deck with that. Gamescom and the crossover podcasts are going really well as well, so looking forward to doing those over the next couple of months.
Great. Yeah, I love the fact that there's a PvP podcast rolling out there. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, yeah.
Awesome. Next up, we've got Max from SWTOR Escape Podcast. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, Chill? Hi, team. Glad to be here.
Great. Still one of my favorite SWTOR podcast names.
Yeah. That was fun to pick. It's not used in any other podcasts in gaming. It actually is used in another sci-fi podcast, though. That's awesome. So.
Oh, of course.
We used it anyway.
Why not? As long as you include the SWTOR, it's all good, right?
Exactly. It's something completely different. It doesn't sound anything like.
That's right.
At least that's what I'd like to tell their lawyers.
Awesome. And how about you in game? Anything going on, or with the podcast that you want to tell us?
All the usual stuff. Yeah. So it's having a good time doing. I'm sure we'll talk about it tonight. We're doing a lot of the older content because we want to get in some of the nightmares. So we'll be able to talk a little bit about that. That's been fun.
Yeah, and get used to it, exactly.
Let's learn it again, because we'll be doing it even more. So.
Absolutely. All right, and finally we've got Nepthin from Old Republic Radio. Hey, Nepthin.
Hey, thank you for having me. How you guys doing?
It's nice to have you on. And how's Old Republic Radio going?
Oh, we're fine. We're just crotchety as ever and waiting for official information, all that fun stuff to talk about, and we're not getting enough. So.
Yeah, it's it's pretty few and far between at this point.
Yeah.
We're hoping the floodgates will open, but it hasn't happened quite yet. So
one way or the other, they will be this week. I can assure you that one.
Yeah. The gates have been breached. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's like Hound's Deep.
You guys found that little drain thing or whatever, right?
Yeah, the drain.
Who carried that big bomb? Was that Miner or Potato?
I believe it was Potato. Potato was the troll in this scenario.
And are you the orc with the torch?
I'm like Goblin number 3 who got shot by a random arrow by like a super boarding elf for some reason.
Would that make Musco the Legolas thing? Trying to shoot you down?
I think Musco will be Gollum, wouldn't he? He's after his precious. Or Samwise, I don't know, one of the two.
Right. And Tio, of course, you're with us. And how are you doing? Anything you want to let us know before we get going?
Hell no. Everything's great.
All right. Then let's just roll right into it. Go ahead and get us started on the first topic.
All right. We're going to be talking about Game Update 3.3, which dropped a few weeks ago. It's probably the last content we're going to see before Knights of the Fallen Empire. Not that there was any actual content in it, unless you count Yavin 4. Is that content? No? Okay.
No, you can dress it up as content. Come on now. You have a program deal.
All right, so let's start with Yavin 4. Last time everyone's talked about it. Any final thoughts, especially, and one of the big concerns I've heard about it, is how much it costs to unlock, well, you have to unlock the whole thing pretty much before it's usable. Is that true? So chill.
Yeah, well, that's the experience I've had. I'm still at the point where I haven't saved up enough credits to get I believe it's the 5th unlock where you can actually, like, see the rest of it. I've spent, like over 7 million credits on it, and I basically have a garage and a landing pad and a path between them and a couple of staircases, and that's basically all I have. So it's pretty, but it's expensive. So pretty expensive is pretty much the experience I've had. But
it's absolutely huge. I went into a fully unlocked one, and it was quite staggering how big it is.
Yeah.
It actually put me off buying it, to be honest. I wasn't going to unlock it all, but I was like, no, there's no way. You're having a laugh, mate.
One thing I know is that it won't become my sort of my go-to banking main, because where you zone in, there's basically no hooks except for the ship hook, so you can't really just throw your GTN down there or anything like that. So.
Oh, I think you could. It's there's a couple hooks on the side that where you can put a GTN, and you could put a couple banks, and you can put your mailbox, which is one of the things that I did.
I must have missed it then.
So on each of the corners of that landing pad, right where you zone in, you can set up a couple of your units there.
Well,
so
that looks ridiculous.
I missed that.
It's
I actually
great.
looked for them, but yeah.
So that's where I put my GTN on one side, and I put my TARDIS on the other one. that phone booth that you can get with prefabs.
Okay, cool.
But I would
not
say,
seen it's an
it
actual
is-
TARDIS. Oh my god.
It totally is, isn't it?
It's some kind of communication thing. It's like a phone booth, basically.
Oh yeah, alright.
It is huge. I dumped all my credits right away and just unlocked the whole thing as quick as I could. But you don't have to unlock in an order, though, do you? So if you don't,
true.
I would recommend going directly to the back of the main hall, open up the back door, go up the stairs, and open up the door at the top of the stairs. With those two unlocks, then you'll get that huge outdoor area, and you'll get the feeling of how big the place is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that's where I'm stuck.
I'm doing my recommendation.
I unlocked the downstairs one too, but it didn't really lead anywhere extra, so it's kind of useless.
That's not great. Little balcony that you can jump off to your death. One of the many places you can jump to your death, which I appreciate.
All right. Anyone else have anything to say about the Yavin 4?
Too expensive.
Way too expensive.
I'm just too damn poor, so it's not going to happen.
I'm the same
to me.
way.
I'll live vicariously through my guildmates.
Yeah.
If nobody's unlocked it yet, the only thing I'll say is unlock the base, the very first unlock with cartel coins if you can. Then unlock everything else with credits or whatever you want. And the only reason you'd want to do that is if you ever deactivate it, you can reactivate it for free if you've unlocked it with cartel coins, which you cannot do. You have to pay the credits again for the base unlock if you unlock it with credits.
Now, if you did the base unlock with cartel coins and then unlock the rest with credits and deactivated and reactivated later, would you get all of the credit unlocked rooms back? Or is it only the stuff? Oh, you confirm that?
We confirmed it with our Corellia ones. A couple of us did. Yeah.
That is
Very
really
nice.
good to know. Really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Test it right now, Max. Let's see if it really works on Yavin.
She'll dump all my decorations. That's the only problem. I did spend some time decorating because we had a guild event and we showed it on the stream. So I've decorated the whole place. I ended up with like hundreds of decorations all lost.
Is it 100%?
No, it's not 100%. This place is huge. It's not going to be 100%. I would have to barf all the little pictures and trophies
Right.
all over the walls. That's the only way to get them to 100%.
Musco style. Yep.
Yeah, which I did not do.
There's a certain elegance to that. All right, that's all my look.
If you get the
Chairs,
colours lined
chairs.
up, yeah, it can
Yeah,
look
well,
pretty
you know,
good.
this is the EV section, this is the KP section, then, you know.
Yeah,
It's actually how I
yeah,
decorate my house.
I'd like to see that.
I get a million pictures of my friends and just plaster my walls with them to save money on wallpaper. It's really efficient.
Yeah, and I think unlike Tatooine, where I unlocked the main area and it actually felt quite usable, this is unfortunately is many millions of credits, and unfortunately for me at least, I'm still at a point where it's not usable at all. So yeah, so for me, I like the Tatooine one better just for that, if nothing else. But Yavin is very pretty, so I look forward to someday being able to actually use it.
It'll be my retirement villa. I think that's what I'm going for more than anything else in that.
Casa de Chuck.
All right. Anything else, Plas? Any thoughts?
I thought about unlocking it with cartel coins, and I realized that's $20 to unlock just the base thing. And I said, no, not really. I barely use Nar Shaddaa for anything, so no, I haven't. I probably will go visit somebody's, but other than that, it's just I'm not excited by it. If you are, great, but I just haven't gotten into the whole Galactic Stronghold stuff yet.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I'm sticking with Tatooine as my utilitarian setup because when you zone in, you're right there with everything around you in
Cast
the
is the
room.
best. No, Chromecast is you can put everything in the one room. You haven't got to go more than 10 spaces. It's all there. It's perfect. Chromecast for
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, but that's
Chromecast.
only... I've got a lot of other characters as well, so...
The weather on Cast is a lot like the weather in Wales, so it makes me feel at home.
Raining all the time. All right. Now, we'll just mention the Togruta. Togruta came in Game Update 3.3. Anyone got any thoughts about it? Personally, not my thing, but chill.
It was fun to mess around with Togruta, but I haven't actually made a character yet. Probably if I do fill up that last character slot, or I guess we'll have one or two more in the expansion, I'll probably make a Togruta and go for it, but not enough for me to change one of my characters out. Place,
Anyone
how about
else?
you?
I actually thought about the first day as creating a character and going around in the starting areas and saying how great this new race, the Cathar, was, and see how many people I could irritate. But, I thought better of it because I figured someone else had already done it, so it's like, let's not repeat that. But I think, it's kind of like, as Lou said, time of the Togruta, and everybody's doing it. And so it's got people in, they're excited, they're having fun with the races. So hopefully, we'll see more Star Wars races sooner than later, because I think it's a good thing to introduce in these off patches where there's not lots of in-game content coming out. Because
You mean there's no in-game content coming?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to be
Yeah, don't be
nice.
so salty. There's loads of in-game content coming. Come on now.
But, I mean,
Again.
you could wait till they have a selfie cam, then, like, wow, that's in-game content.
Right.
Oh, God.
I know.
Has anyone else unlocked the Togruta?
Nope.
Yeah, I did. I made
No,
Dominatrix, my body type 3 female guardian.
Nice.
She's fierce, man. She's fierce. I don't like how the way that I'm not sure what the tentacles are called. I'm sorry, but the way they kind of fall on the shoulders make it look like she has no neck. So it's kind of weird looking. So yeah, I don't think the model's that great. I don't think the customization is that great. I have no idea why it takes them a year to pump out essentially like recolored skins on things.
Yeah. It's something to do with combat animations.
Oh, that's true. They have to animate all the movements, but they've had.
The body's exactly the same. The body's identical. It's just the head, and the head is the same as the male and female head for humans. It's literally
That's
just
true.
the tentacles part.
Yeah,
If you had a
it's
helmet
the
like
same.
you could equip that was the Togruta tentacles, it would literally look exactly the same.
Right. Given how the time frame it was taking and stuff, I was kind of surprised that there was no a way to change the shape of the tentacles. I mean, there's one male and one female one, but you can't like make really long ones or really short ones, or maybe broken ones, or ones that have have big scars in them or anything, taken out of them or anything.
True, which is a problem. So I made one, and the male. So everybody makes the females because they like Ahsoka and Ashara. Right. I made a male, and the tentacles that hang down. So it's horns on top and it's tentacles or whatever on the bottom. On the male, they're really short. I guess this is like the new art style that's coming out of new canon, but
Max is not the size of the tentacle like Hanksman's going to do with this one.
This is what I've heard, and I'm hoping
it's the tentacle you don't see that matters.
There it is.
The motion of the Montrail. Yeah. Okay. So
when I saw that, I thought it was sort of like quietly sexist. It's basically like the female have the long hair, but it's instead of hair, it's actually the long tentacles, and the men are, they have the short tentacles. It's like hair, basically.
But
in like a very traditional way.
Wars, though. Sorry, but it does match the pictures in Clone Wars, so they may have had to have it approved and gone with what LucasArts said.
Right.
Right.
So yeah. Maybe the original ones are are sexist then.
A lot of the Legends artwork has males with really long ones, but
that's true.
The new canon, they're all sort of short. But yeah,
such a weird conversation. Males with really long ones.
All right.
You didn't expect to be talking about transgender Togruta tonight, did you?
I did not. That was not in the notes.
That's how they self-identify.
All right, and and as far as next species, Nautilins for me. Anyone else?
This is for 2018, obviously.
2018.
Okay. Yes.
6.0.
8.0. Yeah.
Wow! Don't everyone jump in. Any other species you guys like at all?
I'm just saying that 14 of my 17 characters are human, so I don't really care about.
Right.
I'm really bad about that.
I'm with you, actually, Nathan. Most of mine are human too.
There
And
you
it's
go.
like until I get a Wookiee, it's not going to matter. So
Well, if you're Wookiee, you can find my one after you, right, Chuck?
Yeah, to be fair,
Exactly,
Chuck, you're
that's
pretty
what I'm
much
saying.
a Wookiee now.
No, I want to see Rhodians all named variations of Greedo so that the smugglers kill constantly.
Yeah.
It has to be a basic speaking character.
Yeah.
They speak basic.
Rhodians, some sort of racial, like shot second as a species racial.
Who's the fish people? Yeah, it's a trap. What are those called?
Mon Calamari.
Self-cath.
Mon Calamari, yeah.
Let's get some calamari in here.
Oh, jeez. I'd be okay with that. I'd make an Akbar.
Oh god, that would be popular, wouldn't it? Yeah, maybe we shouldn't ask people.
Yeah, and they have them in the game already, so they wouldn't take too much to flesh them out a bit.
I mean, I've always wanted a self-cath, just so I could hear the some great vocalizations going on. I mean, I think that would be great to hear every conversation like that.
I really hope they employ you to do the voices for them.
I was going to say that.
Fraction of 1 point, my friend.
You're right there, Chuck. You can just walk in, record, get out.
Mic drop.
Done and done.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ortolans. That's the only other one I think we need.
Yeah.
Playable Ortolans.
Oh, a bunch of Max Rebos or Rebo, right?
Tiny, some sort of tiny race. We should add one.
Oh, what about the Jesus Christ, I'm so bad with names. The co-pilot in the Millennium Falcon, not Chewie, Lando's co-pilot, the weird one with the cheats.
Not Salonian.
Flaps?
Okay.
Celestian.
The
Celestial.
flap alien.
Celestians, yeah. Actually, and you got to think the Voss have got to be kind of high on their list somewhere too.
Oh.
So
Possibly
Bug
cool.
eyes. Yeah.
yeah, I think they're cool, but
They're cool.
Customizations for Voss would be really awesome. I mean, that'd be the bonus there, because you could do some really cool stuff with their colorings and eyes and all that stuff.
They could wear a helmet too.
yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Unlike a lot of the species.
Unlike everything else they put.
All right. We beat that one to death. Next, what about the PvP changes, which was probably the only substantive change in Game Update 3.3, where it was really all about, well, firstly getting people into regs and making it far easier to gear up. So they've taken the gear grind effectively away because all the gear is now cheap. For both tiers, they removed ranked Warzone comms. In Season 6, they've now introduced these Season 6 tokens, which you get for doing ranked PvP. You don't get Warzone comms at all, apparently. And they're going to have a vendor, so you can just buy what you want with those tokens. The intent, as they seem to have been going for, is to get people only doing ranked because they want to do ranked. And they're not just there to gear up, because that was a big problem. So the question is, has any of it worked? Any change in regs? Any change in ranked?
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot more on my server. The Reddit clips, there's a lot more ranked pop in now. Solo ranked more so than team ranked. There's not much team rank going on. Regs has always been pretty stable. There's not so many 50k sages for me anymore, so no more PvP videos for me. But it does seem a lot more active. I do think that they dropped the ball significantly with these changes, though, because implementing a new form of currency that you can't spend, it's kind of pointless. If you're trying to get people engaged into the right scene, then if they could have bought last season's items with these tokens now, I think we'd have a lot more people taking part, because they'd be trying to get the next to that, well, if they didn't get it for free, and they'd be trying to get the items and whatnot. So I think they really dropped the ball on that front. But so far, so good. I like the changes. They're very good. I would like to see some comms being given for ranked games for things like med packs,
Right.
but not a substantial amount.
Okay.
Right. Basically enough to cover you, maybe, or almost cover you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a huge amount. Maybe if you got 20 a game, something along those lines, just you could buy them as you went along. In addition, or maybe you tie them into the quest, so you get a bundle. You get an extra. Say you get 20 med packs if you do the daily quest for arenas. Along those lines would be great as well. But yeah, I think they just overlooked it. I don't think that was done with kind of malice. They just didn't factor it in.
Didn't think of it. Yep.
Right. Max, how about you?
So I haven't done much ranked yet. Unranked seems relatively similar in terms of population. We never really had that much of a problem on Jedi Covenant, though, with the queues or getting games to happen.
Sure.
I know they said the intent is that you'd only be doing ranked because you want to do ranked, and you're not. They're trying to avoid having people jump in there just for rewards. But they did add that extra currency to spend on end of season rewards, and they did confirm this week that the large amount of those tokens that you get for completing the weekly is intended. So you're supposed to get 50 of those tokens.
Right.
As in the small amount.
Yeah. So if you want, the amount that you do get, but that is still an incentive for people to play for rewards and not because they're good at ranked or want to be doing or competing. So I mean,
they need that though. The problem they've got is like ranked was pretty much dead on all servers. Solo and especially team, but solo was dropping as well. I know on Tour Community we had a graph showing the participation rates across the seasons, and it's pretty much always been declining, sometimes drastically. So they need bodies in the queue so they can get the matchmaking system to work. So I think the assumption is even if they get 200 terrible players in the queue, that's better than not having them there, because it's popping, it gives the impression of life, which will get more people into it, and also it will allow the matchmaking system, it'll give it a fighting chance to work.
Yeah.
So and are you okay with that? I mean, that's the key. So are the people who are deep into PvP ranked? Are you okay with that? And are you seeing ill effects from that? Are you getting people
on rank stuff? So I stay away from the good players so I can make myself feel like a big man by crushing bugs. But when I dipped into it, it seems fine. I mean, I think regardless of whether there's more bad players in the queue or good players, it should balance itself out as long as they are queuing. So assuming the good players from previous seasons are still queuing, adding a large amount of subpar players doesn't hurt them in any way, shape, or form. We may do at the beginning to get bad matchmaking, but over time that should equal out. But it does give the matchmaking system a fighting chance to work, which is what is desperately needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Without volume, it's pretty much useless.
Well, and also
Cool.
you're also talking about the difference of having people that have actually at least played a few war zones before they just jump in and queue for a rank pop
Oh,
versus.
yeah, the nuclear system is fantastic. I mean, you
So,
can,
I mean, like-
you can theoretically gear up in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm just thinking about like you just jump in and queue ranked just because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just queuing ranked. So
Yeah.
you get people of all levels in there. At least you have people that have some sort of skill, have at least played through a war zone before, instead of just jumping in and queuing on it and getting in for no reason at all.
Because you need the
Yeah.
2018 expertise, the max expertise
Yeah.
to even
Yeah.
get in there.
Right.
Sure.
And the dropping of the prices allowed that rule to come into place where they
Yeah.
could enforce a 2018 expertise rule. Without the lower prices, it was almost impossible because the queues would be completely dead. So,
Well, and it made it so it was it seemed achievable. It appeared
Yes.
the appearance of achievability is there to get the 174 gear more so than there ever has been. You know, when I'm looking
Absolutely.
at 3,500 Warzone comms to get a damn main hand, I'm gonna choke
Yep.
somebody. You know, that's not easy. So I think being able to get the top PvP gear makes a big difference for everybody, and we'll get more. I've seen a lot more rag pops even on a server that is quote unquote dying, with people that are migrating away from it. So it was a busy day today.
okay. And Nathan, do you do much PvP then?
No, I don't PvP at all. I don't play. It's. I guess I could, but I just don't like to. I did a lot. I did a lot when I was leveling, but I don't do anything at max level.
Fair
So
enough.
these changes, they don't affect me at all.
Right. So the lower prices doesn't mean much to you. It's not going to tempt you in.
Not with 4.0, kind of close.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really like PvP for a week or two, get the gear, and then there's no way I'll have time to do ranked. I have to raid.
Fair
So I
enough.
can raid them again in a month or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we also had at the Gamescom Q&A that happened in Cologne this last week. There was a question about when are we going to see some new PvP maps? Comes up every now and again. And that's when they reiterated the point of 3.3 was to fix the population of PvP, which had some effect. And they said they're constantly prototyping new war zones internally, but they have nothing to announce on timing. But they're always working
How
on new
leaky
stuff.
can we be here?
What's that?
How leaky can we be?
Well, I'll leak away.
You'll find out.
Something,
Yeah,
something
Fix
to
it in
be found.
post.
So soon might actually mean soon.
So clearly the marketing the focus has been completely on story this year. And they made that extraordinarily clear. They're not talking about the MMO bits, even though it seems that there is some evidence that they are actually working on it. And as he says, they are constantly prototyping this stuff. And maybe after Coffee goes live, a new map may not be too far behind.
Well, I think they're basically at the point they can work on one thing at a time. So they are doing the story, and then once that's done, they'll see what all the new players do, because for them, all the existing content will be new, and if they take off and play it a lot, whether it's war zones or ops or whatever, then they'll know where they want to direct the resources. You know, if they get 1 million subscribers and only about 10,000, let's say, do PvP and another 10,000 do ops, they're not going to put any effort into that.
That's kind of a chicken and egg problem, though, because until they invest into it, people aren't inclined to do it. So it's kind of, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet. You know what I mean? Whereas I think if they do if there's a push for PvP now, and they incentivize by saying there is a new one coming, that will get people into the queue so they can get up to speed before it comes out. It'll certainly build up hype. But I mean, as someone who PvPs a lot, I don't really care that much about a new map, which will probably shock some people. The gameplay comes from playing against people, you know, having some objectives and they make it interesting and things. And I do prefer objective-based PvP. but it's the players you play against that makes it dynamic, not necessarily so much the maps. I'm kind of happy with the maps at the moment. A new one would be good. I'm just kind of scared that if you guys can remember when Ancient Hypergate came out, it was a period of about 6 months when no one really understood what the rules were.
Yes.
If they launched this one, they needed to really brief people out based on how complicated it is or going to be as to how it works. Some videos would be fantastic,
Yeah, it was just complicated enough to make it tricky, especially if you're just kind of stepping into PvP for one of the first times anyway. You just for a while you just have to follow the pack and see what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good perspective. I like that concept, and I think we get a skewed view listening to the forums and hearing people say, "Oh, we want more maps. We want more maps." I think I agree with you, Snave. PvP is about player versus player and making your own content. New maps might be just a new, interesting place as a secondary element to PvP, which is I'm going to go after the other people. I'm interested in their skill. I'm interested in the cast of characters that I end up playing against on a regular basis, who the usual suspects are, learning what the guilds are and what they can do, what the groups are. I'd like more opportunities for more dynamic thing, maybe open world PvP, more objective-based PvP out on different planets. I think that's the kind of thing that PvP really needs, not just another map and another weird war zone.
It's issues with open world PvP, though, especially in this game, simply because once you get past about 15 players, it just goes to, the FPS drops, and I still have chills about Ilum.
Or put in some of these changes. I would love to have seen them stop letting AoEs break caps, sure, it didn't go as far as they wanted, but at least take the half step, try. I mean, I was on the PTS with a number of other people doing that, and that was some of the best PvP I've had in SWTOR, just because you had a lot of people there who seemed to know what they were doing for the most part.
It was really good, yeah.
And
but I think part of it.
Go ahead.
I think part of the thing you run into here is just like we're going to talk about ops here in a little bit, but when you feel like your section of the game has been ignored for so long, and you're not getting any kind of visible content where it's not a new map or a new this or a new that, like, okay, we're adjusting, we're making a few changes, we're making changes to the reward structure and things like that, but you're not really getting any substantive changes to it. I think people start to get alienated by it, and I think that's the fear that you start to alienate people from playing it.
With alienation, the problem hasn't been because of a lack of maps. It hasn't been that at all. The problem has been, especially in this expansion, that two specific classes have been by far like head and shoulders above the rest for pretty much the entire time, and the lack of balance changes to them is what's driven people out of PvP. When you're doing solo rank, you're queuing against teams of 4 sins, game after game after game, you just lose the will to live. You're just like, why am I doing it? But you get global by PT. I mean, I had 38k done to me in one GCD by one player. I had to go and cry in the corner and hug a blanket for half an hour. Just brutal. Those are the issues that are driving PvP is from the game. And if you look at really established PvP-only games like LoL or CSGO, they aren't really... They don't chuck in loads of new maps for content. They just make tweaks to the classes, and that's what this desperately needs. Which leads me to a question I wanted to ask you guys. So WoW released some of the expansion details recently, and it looks like they're having separate trees now for PvP and PvE. Do you think this is going to have any... I mean, people generally copy WoW, so do you think this is something which will be copied by other games?
Yes. I think they're going to see how WoW does it. I know because I play WoW, I'm an active raider there. The PvPers in my guild are like, yes, finally, since vanilla, we're getting, PvP-only talents that can be powerful in PvP and doesn't screw up anything else. So I think they'll look at it. I mean, and I agree with you. They said we need to bring these high-performing classes down, and they never did it. And they never told us why they didn't do it.
They're working on coffee.
Well, and that's the point. That's the point. Is that that's what I'm talking about? Is that when I say attention, people may on the forums or whatever it comes out as maps. It comes out as different gameplay. It comes out as this, but it's really something else. It's really about what you're talking about. You know, it's well, wait a minute. Why am I getting a team? Why is the balancing so odd sometimes? Why am I up against doing a Void Star with 6 Sorks on the other side? Life sucks. You know, so there's and not much attention is being paid to how that matchmaking is happening and some of that stuff, and especially with the higher population, it seems like I'm still getting screwed when it comes to solo queue and matchmaking. So I mean, there's still something odd there, and it feels like there's not a lot of attention being paid to it, and I think that's why PvPers start to get a little antsy, and they go, maps, give me maps, and it's like, because that's all you know.
I think it's easier to say maps because it's a tangible, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
It's something that we physically put in the game, so it's easy to say that we want something that's like, say, physical, you know what I mean. Whereas the other stuff is more of a gameplay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's meta mechanics, which is very difficult to articulate what would be the right thing you actually want out of there. So it's you want balanced, interesting gameplay between characters, but how do you even articulate what change you make?
Because they've said that the main PvP change in 4.0 will be a redefining of the meta. I don't know if you looked at the class changes, but they're not redefining the meta. The meta will remain consistent as it is now. So that one blows my mind as well. It's like if everyone has the same ability, then no one has the same ability. You know what I mean? It's kind of a pointless change. So I don't see how that is going to affect PvP that much. I could be wrong though.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's time to move on to Flashpoints and Operations, Tio.
Yes, indeed. Our second topic, we're going to talk about George Smith's senior designer's post that he did a while ago about Flashpoints and Operations and the changing they're making in Knights of the Fallen Empire. And the big news, of course, was no new Flashpoints or Operations in Godfrey, in fact, this year. Yeah, anyway, so if you read through this and stuff they've said subsequently, the big reason was they wanted to make this change so that all of the content which is effectively obsolete, such as the old operations and the leveling flashpoints that don't have hard modes or whatever, make it all relevant and scalable. So what they've done is they've taken 8 of the flashpoints, the older ones, that were story specific and given them solo modes. They've taken another 5 of the old ones and made them tacticals, and they've taken all of those tacticals, including the later ones, starting with Zerka and forward, including Cuit, all the ones from Shadow of Raven, and the ones from the lead up to Forge Alliances, and made them bolstered like Cure Drive Yards, so you can do them for levels 10 to 65, new level cap, and everyone will be bolstered to 65. So you will have a massive assortment, rather than just KDY, of stuff that you can actually do while leveling. That's a tactical. They've added hard modes for a few more. Well, Red Reaper, actually, is the only new one. And yeah, the solo modes as well, which I mentioned already. So the whole idea is to take all these old flashpoints, and we'll talk about operations in a bit, all these old flashpoints, and make them relevant again. And the rewards from them, the way they're talking is whatever it is will be relevant to your level. So it's all good in terms of having flashpoints, lots and lots of flashpoints, just no new ones. Do we have an opinion about this change? Chill.
Well, yeah, of course, as someone who does raiding operations, I'd love to see brand new ones. Basically, this is one of those things where I kind of realize this is all about the fact that they are focusing hard on making the long story with all the chapters and so on in Kopfi, and they simply don't have time to also do a new operation at the same time. I'm glad to see that at least there'll be an update to them so that we can try them at the new level to see if they'll be difficult again, because obviously, so and so on have been, jokes for a long time. It's, well, not they're still fun, but, obviously difficulty-wise, you just roll right through them and you just have a laugh and that's it. So it'll be interesting to see if they can, what they're like at the new maximum level. So, but I don't know how long that'll keep us. In our operations team, we've already sort of like been cutting back because, we could start doing all these nightmare modes and so on, but we're going to see them all in the new expansion anyway. So I don't know.
All right. So before we proceed, let's just talk about the operation change as well, because that's what Chill's referring to. So all of the operations have been scaled up as well. So starting with Eternity Vault all the way through to the current ones. The story mode will be available level 50 through 65, and everyone will be bolstered. So they'll all be doable. You can do them while you're leveling, all the way to 65. And the hard modes will be available to all of them. And the existing ones with nightmare modes will also be available for level 65s. Of course, yeah, no new rewards, just the extra bits mounts at the moment. So again, no new operations, but all of them will be relevant and apparently will drop stuff that will gear.
Yeah.
Which will be useful.
And to sort of fill it out, well, I'm kind of bummed on a little bit on the operations side. I'm fine that there's no real new flashpoints. I don't really mind one way or the other there. I'm kind of happy that they're opening them up because when you're leveling, when there's only one or two tacticals, that's pretty much all that you can queue for because the ones that are designed at level just don't pop really for the most part. So having a bunch more tacticals will be very helpful and very nice actually. So I'm perfectly happy on the Flashpoint side. I'm just I'm definitely waiting with bated breath for a new operation to come sometime after
launch.
Here
is the time after launch, because they said nothing in 2015. Now the game comes out in October, towards the end of October, so there's only 2 and a bit months until the end of 2015. So that's not a huge amount of time. I think if you can get one out within the first quarter of 2016, that should be okay. You've got the other ones that tied you until then. It's just if they go past that into the second or third quarter, that is way too long.
Yes, I would agree. I don't think the upgraded operations for our particular team is going to hold our interest all that long, just because we've done all of them all the way along. So for people who are new to the game, of course it should be great, and I hope there's tons of new people who come to the game and then eventually become operations folks. And for them it'll all be new, and they can also try it while leveling, doing the story mode version. So that's great for them. It's just for us who've been in the game a long time, it's not so great.
Do you think that's the idea behind this? It's like a kind of a semi-reboot where they reset everything to 0. They're hoping to get a brand new bunch of players in.
Yes, they are definitely hoping that all these changes and all the story and the big new cinematic and all this is going to draw in lots of new players. And you can call it a gamble, you can call it whatever you want, but this is their strategy. And yes, and as a current player, I definitely want it to work because if it doesn't, bad things could happen. So yeah. Now, Neptune, you said that you are an operations player. So, Neptune, what are your thoughts on the Flashpoints and operations?
Oh boy. Honestly, when the post came out like a month ago, I was furious. And I spent the next 3 days venting to random guildmates so that when we recorded on our show, I was kind of done with complaining about it. But since then, it's all coming back to me, right? And I absolutely hate this change. And for those out there who think this is great, that you want to experience these at level, fine. That's great for you. For me, I've run these operations for years. EV, KP, EC. Oh gosh, I could close my eyes and do those operations. There isn't a fight or a role that I don't know for all the difficulty levels. I know everything. I know tanking, healing, and DPSing for every fight and every difficulty. So there's nothing new for me. And my ops group we've done this stuff. We ran Fortress and Palace for 14 months. We've run Ravagers and Temple for, what is going on, 9, 8, whatever. we're done. We want to do something new, and new ops to me aren't just fun for the gear and for the the new scenery, if you want to say anything, but learning fights to me is what I enjoy. When you go into the boss and you say, all right guys, let's go and let's find out what happens, and you die 10 seconds in and someone says, okay, what happened, but we know all the mechanics, we know every single fight, so there's no surprises. And I'm really worried about gear, because you can't put the good gear in certain ops, because then everyone's going to run those ops first. And so if they spread the gear out, first of all, you can't spread the 14 pieces out amongst all the bosses. So are you going to get a chest piece from Soa and Styrak and Brontis and Cortani? I mean,
and
you
two
can
of the
gear out
Kephises.
so fast. Yeah, you can gear out way too fast. And with all the alts that my group has, I mean, it's just it's the only thing keeping us together is the fact that it's our group. And honestly, if we don't get something new, or if I don't get something new, I don't know how much more I'll deal with not having content. The story is fine. I like the story, and I bet you I'll be done with the story on day one, and then I'll want to raid. And it says, oh, let's go EV. Well, we've done EV, and I have almost all the achievements for night. I'm missing Council Nightmare and Cortani Blaster and Revan for hard mode. I mean, I'm missing some, I guess, but I don't think that I didn't get them all at level. I don't think that. My biggest fear with the refurbished is that, first of all, they won't be like it was back in the day. There's no way in hell they could recreate level 50 EV. Sorry. This general skill that people have is higher. Our utilities alone, the fact that you can heal while running and DPS while running for some classes that back then had to stand and move. I mean, and there's some utilities that some classes have that totally cheese mechanics that will still be cheese even at 65. There's not going to be much of a challenge. I think that they'll be more difficult than they are now, but less difficult than they were then. So, I think they hope that groups will be able to do Nightmare TFB and all the nightmares. If you can't do them now, you won't be able to do them then. You won't be able to do them in 3 months anyway. Because they're actually they're not that difficult now. Brontis is annoying as hell, and so is the Council, but that's only 2 phases. Everything else is not that difficult, but I think they're not that difficult. And I really think this is geared towards this new influx of people that they are assuming they're going to get. But if this new influx of people is all about story, they're not going to care about operations. And don't get me started on the timeline about the ops too, because that kind of confuses me as well. You're in the future, and the Republic and Empire are all burning and whatever. And you're going to go back in time and kill Soa, go back in time and kill the Dreadmasters. But that's kind of a little small quibble. But my whole thing is that there's nothing new, and there's no surprises. All it is let's see how fast we can gear each other out, and let's see if it's even fun. And as a GM of a guild with 15 ops teams, probably 10 of which are still relatively active, I've had various raid members of other teams and the ops leaders say, I don't know how this is going to work. And so that affects me as well, because I don't want to see my guild break up or people quit playing the game because nothing was brought into the game. So that affects me too. But the raider in me is really pissed about this whole thing. And I'll step off
that's fair.
Soapbox for at least 10 seconds.
All right, we should just mention there is a bit of hope in that at one of the cantinas they did mention that revamping the current operations of Flashpoints was a step, and an important one, because they want to make it all scalable going forward. So this stuff will always be available, for better or for worse.
That worries me too.
Yeah,
if they release a new op, is it going to be the same gear?
On the same level as the rest?
Because if it's a higher tier, then you just completely invalidate the ones you just refurbished.
The problem with this is they also said that the utility system would allow them to make quick and dynamic changes throughout the course of the game, and that didn't happen, so you can't really take anything they say seriously, can you?
It just means that if they do add a new operation or two, that they'll probably wait like 6 to 9 months.
I honestly don't think we're going to get one until like July. I'm very pessimistic. I know that, but I just...
July may be optimistic, yeah.
Come on, Theo, I thought I was thinking because they have to release a new chapter every month, right, starting in January?
Yeah. So they've got some work ahead of them on that, too.
There were some hints that they were going to drop something between seasons 1 and 2. So season 1 would end somewhere middle of next year, apparently.
July.
So.
Yeah, exactly. And Chuck, did you have something that you were going to say?
No, I'm just thinking about it because I'm a completely opposite of what Netham's talking about, because we're still burgeoning and new as far as our team is concerned, and still running through hard modes, like working on these bosses. So it's still really challenging to us. And a lot of those flashpoints, I haven't run a lot of them because I just blew past that and didn't even look back as far as trying to get those. So
Absolutely.
Some of the opportunities to run some of those are going to be good. But it's funny because when we talk about the ops this way, it sounds like everybody who's been bitching about PvP forever, it's like the same argument. It's like, well, okay, look, we just made these changes for you. I know it's not a new map or a new gameplay style, but look, we made these changes for you. These things, look what we did for you. We balanced it out a little bit. We gave you something, right? We're thinking about it. And I don't think that's going to be enough. But I think the moneymaker for the game is going to be getting new players in and getting them subscribed. And we're talking about, maybe 10% of the game are in-game players, probably less. So, I mean, I think their focus right now is to try to bring new blood in and have all of these options.
That's a very dangerous line of logic there, though, because
it really
let me
is.
give you an example. Because if you think of American football in America, how many people play in the NFL?
Right.
Oh, no.
Compared to the total amount of people who play American football. And the rest play because of the ones who play in the NFL. So you have to have the guys at the top to encourage the rest into the game and encourage them to stay. You have to have the Jesus players.
No, and I totally agree with that. And I think that's something that you can't. It's a catch-22. You can't tick off the people that are the people that everybody admire and that people look at and the guilds that people admire and would aspire to. You can't run them off. But at the same time, where is it? Are we at a point where this game needs new people to keep it alive? Or is that where we're at now? And it might be part of that. It's time
Possibly.
to get the Play 60 kids from the elementary school to start playing American football because they're all playing soccer. So we've got to get people back in here. So I think there's going to be some of that. I think they're playing on the idea that the new movie's coming out, and they're going to be playing on that and the story content, and it's what they've been saying all along. And they're just trying to just string us all along and keep us all going as long as they can, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to get something, whether it's a new PvP map, whether it's a new GSF map, whether it's a new operation, something. They're going to have to do it, or like what you're saying, you're going to have nobody to look to.
Yeah, maybe.
Go ahead.
Maybe, and I don't think that that's necessarily the case. That's what they're going for, is that they're trying to string us along, and then they're going to go back to doing all of the old stuff they used to do another PvP map, do another operation, do a couple flashpoints, blah blah blah. I think that could happen, and I think 6 months out we could get a new revamp of that stuff. But I think they could be going down a new path here and experimenting and saying, hey, do we want to take a left turn in the MMORPG industry model and go after what we're really good at? We do these things like Dragon Age, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do these things like Mass Effect. And we put out this one thing that's just one awesome story, and people pay $60 for it. Okay. Well, if we could do enough story on an ongoing basis in the Star Wars universe to have people sub up maybe 3 to 4 times a year, that exceeds then what they're currently doing with Dragon Age and Mass Effect.
That's
true.
Yes and no, though. That isn't necessarily true. Because let's say that I'm a content person, that's all I want to do is the Dragon Age type of gameplay. So if I sub out launch, I get the first 9 chapters. So I can blow through the first 9 chapters, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm done now. So I paid $15 for that. And then I'll wait until the next one comes out and think, you know what, rather than subbing it 5 times, I'm going to wait 6 months, because all these other games are coming out all the time. You got Fallout that's coming out at the same time as this, if you're that kind of player. Then they're going to go and play there instead. They've got other things to tie them over. They'll come back, they'll pay another $15, blow through all that content, and repeat and rinse. So they will get a slow trickle of income from these players. Some of them will convert over to full-time MMO players and get immersed in the game. That is true, but you're leveraging that against the players you're going to lose. Because people will quit if it goes to a single-player story-type game. If they want different things. So for me, I think you are right. I think it is a left turn, and I think it is a experiment. But I think part of the reason they haven't declared any times for like PvP maps and PvE operations is because they don't know how it's going to play out. And until they see where the numbers fall, they aren't really confident on developing either or.
Yeah, so
Well,
they could be hedging there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're also developing content for people who MMO in a different way. We're talking outfit designer, with strongholds. You know, there are several different things that they have done for people who do it differently, who don't do in-game ops as far as that.
Right, who RP or sandbox it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you treat the game at the coffee as a reboot, it kind of makes sense of that. Okay, let's take all of our existing content, refurbish it, bring it up to date, start everybody fresh. Because one of the things out of the Gamescom Q&As that people said is, if you have an existing character and you start, they finish all your quests and remove them from your log, and you can't go back. So it's basically making a hard dividing line between coffee and prior content. So you start there, you go forward. So, put that out, run with it. If you're a new subscriber, this is great. All this stuff is new, fresh. If you haven't had a chance to run the content, great. You get to see it. But my fear is, with 5.0, are we going to be killing SOA again? Are they going to be constantly removing this entire base of operations and flashpoints every time they have a level increase? Which is not good. Some things need to grow old. Some things need to go stale, because you want to see a sense of progression in the game. You want to know that, hey, this is lower level stuff, this is higher level stuff. Because like with operations, you want the new challenges, you want the new bosses, you want to be tested again. That's why a lot of people like PvP, because every PvP fight usually is a new struggle. Of course, you always see the usual people, like fighting in mid, not on nodes, blah, blah, blah. But
it's a new mid to fight over, though.
It's a different challenge.
But we want new challenges, we want new stuff. We want to feel like there's an investment from the developers. We want to see the class balances. Yeah, sometimes you get whacked with the nerf bat. I play a Sentinel. So, like, when I go into Warzone, I know I'm just Tickle Me Elmo trying to annoy people so they kill me instead of ignoring the person over there capping the node. But, if you're a new player, great. This is cool stuff. If you're a cutting-edge progression rater, I feel your pain, because I'm afraid you're going to be killing SOA for a long time to come, especially depending on how...
That's what I would do to you as well, man. You've been killed so many times.
Well, and it depends on how they do the gear drops.
They should bring back the bugs that SOA had. Then I'd say it was nostalgic.
Yeah. I got a screenshot of my character just dead in the air when all the platforms drop. But, if they put, like, your loot on the last boss and everything else is Warzone Ultimate comms or Elite comms.
I buy garbage gear.
Yeah, they could make you do everything.
Can you imagine?
They could really slow down the gear progression, or they could really speed it up. And for PvP changes, they may want to get everybody geared out and going. But the critical part is we need to convert people from content locusts, the story locusts, to the community members, the ones who stay and do the PvP. Who do, the guides, do the operations and things like that. And it's hard to see those jumps because the only thing they've talked about is story, but you can't say too much about story because you're going to spoil it. And that's why we're asking for the other bits, because we want to know more. And when they don't tell us that, then it feels like they're not finished or they don't know what they're doing. And it's like, well, give us a clue, folks. Help us. We want to work with you. We're the ones who have gotten you here. You brought us to the dance. dance with us, because we paid the fees. Sorry, I'm on my soapbox now.
I'm seeing a future in which they'll have this broad tier of operations, which will be like level 1 at any given expansion or every time they raise a level cap. And so that's your first tier to gear up, and you've got the choice of all the operations ever. But then when they introduce new tiers or new operations, as they will eventually, July, whatever, then that will be your next tier of gear. But that first range where you've got all of the existing ones, and then next time they raise the level cap or release yet another operation, previous operation goes into the broad set.
Into old tier.
And there'll be the new 1 or 2 operations.
Right.
And that first set is basically just a gearing run. That's somewhere to get going. You can choose your poison, basically, as far as which operations you want to do.
That would make some sense. It'd be a little bit like how the Warzone gear works, where you have a sort of a base level gear. Once you're actually geared up and you're at 2018, you can go into the real content, which in PvP is ranked, and in this case it would be whatever the current operation would be. That makes some sense.
Any final words before we move on?
Yeah, it's another grand experiment. I mean, SWTOR went from being, buy a box and subscribe up to, free to play plus a subscription option. Now they're changing it once again. They're quietly bringing subscriptions back, if you want to do the new content. Although at least there won't be that initial hurdle of having to buy the box. So it's still free to play, but they are bringing the subscriptions back, and that's an interesting thing, since I think historically all the MMOs have kind of gone the other way. They've kind of gone away from the subscription model. They are sort of bringing it back in an interesting and different way. So we'll see how it works.
But the sub is basically just unlock everything up to this point. So you sub for a month, you get everything up to that point. So yeah, you could literally just wait 6 months and then sub again for a month and get everything up to that point.
Yes.
I did want to say one thing about Flashpoints, which we kind of skipped over, but the big problem with this current tier is the hard modes were trivialized almost immediately, in terms of there's just no point. If you wanted anything decent, you did operations to get gear.
Yeah.
And if they manage to keep them relevant along with the operations with this massive set to choose from, I'm good with that. I would love a reason to do hard mode Flashpoints again. That would be awesome, because it's something you can do. In addition, they're like mini operations in some ways. They're not operations, because I love doing operations.
When they're actually challenging, they're a lot of fun.
Yes,
I'd be okay with that too. If they actually dropped gear that was relevant in challenging whatever.
To do them.
Yeah, I don't do Flashpoints at all. And there was a point, back in the day where you would jump in and do the original Flashpoints, because you get I think it was Klumi gear or something. If they refurbish the stuff and it drops gear that is entry level gear into ops, if you're bored one night, you can just get 3 buddies and start knocking them out, because there's a ton to choose from. Yep. But if they repeat their mistake of this current tier and the rewards are just worthless, no one's going to care.
Exactly. Would there be any non-progression rewards that you guys would be interested in? So my team goes after. We do Nightmare Explosive Conflict all the time, because we're trying to get everyone. We've got tons of people trying to get them the tank mount, and you get the Stormcaller and Firebrand decos, and you get the big aircraft turret deco off the end, and the Kefis customization, and the Praxon Faraxa mount. And in fact, we got one of each of those that I just mentioned the last run that we did.
Nice.
And everybody gets a kick out of it, and we fill up a 16-man pug run, like that in 2 seconds every Tuesday night, doing stuff like that. Nobody's getting gear off it, but that's another thing, cosmetic gear to fill up your cosmetic tabs. Is that not interesting to most people? I mean,
that depends on your point of view.
We're gonna be doing some of that before coffee releases, but once there's more relevant stuff going on, that's that kind of stuff will fall by the wayside, I'm sure, for us.
Yeah.
We do
I
that
think
already.
I think it's useful also just to run people through the stuff, because like I was saying, we're burgeoning. We're bringing people in and new people in and learning how people fight and running these things. So it's a hell of a lot of fun to like go through those that half of us know with a bunch of people that don't know it and learn it and kind of get the feel for how it is and then figure out, okay, you're a good healer. We're going to bring you into hard modes. Come this way and figure out which ones we need to gear out and find those new players because we're still in that spot where we have 1.5 raid teams kind of thing. So it's fun to do some of that content. I know that I need another Rishi Hollow Dancer for sure and a couple other decos that I want to drop. I think some of that stuff is definitely valid.
We pass on all the Rishi Hollow Dancer signs, and whoever gets it is the loser for that for that drop.
Well, it's good to have the easier ops, because there's a lot of people who say Star Wars is their first MMO and they have no experience.
Right.
I came in from World of Warcraft, so a lot of the stuff in Star Wars was, to me, basic mechanics. Don't stand in this, do that, interrupt this. So,
yeah.
And I got into a guild that was teaching people how to actually do ops, and it was good to have easier ops, forgiving ops for them to learn in, because they were tanking or healing or even DPSing for the first time. You don't want to throw them into progression ops because they'll get discouraged. They'll do it once, get blown up, and then they'll quit.
Right.
So
well, hopefully, I'm hoping that story mode sort of becomes that sort of stepping stone for folks like that. They will have story mode for folks while they're leveling, and hopefully that'll be a good help to them. We'll see how that works.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the Gamescom?
Yes. All right. Last topic, and I think we'll try and keep this one brief because I don't know if we've got that much to say. We'll see. Just us last week, as I mentioned earlier, we had Gamescom 2015 in Cologne, Germany. We actually had a bit of SWTOR presence during EA's 1-hour press conference on the day before Gamescom kicked off for the public, and James Dolan strolled onto stage. Bit of a surprise, and said his piece, which is all stuff we already knew, and then they ran the new gameplay trailer, which is obviously different to the Sacrifice trailer from Blur. This one is all in-game footage, showing new stuff, and there's a whole lot of Darth Maul and stuff with the Eternal Throne and yada yada. So, we also got a bunch of images from via Massively. And we've had a couple of... They ran the Cantina over 2 different days, and we had 2 separate Q&As and a bunch of answers. So, anyone got any thoughts on how it all went? General impressions? Was this a big win for SWTOR? More exposure? Can't tell.
I think as far as exposure goes, some other obscure little MMO kind of drowned them out unless you were following them. I like the cantinas, I like the interaction with fans, but they really need to put on an event that actually gives you some of the nuts and bolts of stuff. I mean, they don't have to talk about story, but give some of the other things. Because when things dribble out through the cantina, you're never sure quite, is that what was really said? Did someone misremember? Were they tired? Did someone decide to spill their guts on stuff? It's kind of an awkward way to be releasing information. So I think it's good. I'm glad they did it, but I'd like to see something more formal, some dev posts or something.
The thing I find interesting with this is at the moment I'm kind of dealing with SWTOR miners for overtakes with the amount of information that they've managed to glean off the PTS they managed to get. So I'm aware of the colossal amount of information. Both of them are working on it constantly, and they literally can't get it out fast enough. And the game is coming out in 2 months' time, and we could literally release one bit of information every single day for the next 2 months, and we probably still wouldn't cover everything. So the fact that they aren't doing it, I don't understand, because they could be releasing some of the mechanical changes. They could be talking about the crafting, they could talk about that. they could talk about whatever the new system is with companions. They haven't said anything about that, and there's lots of people kind of clamoring as to what's going on with the companions. They're certainly not inherently story-linked, just how it works. There's so much stuff they could be talking about. Even just a crafting one, I mean, they could do that for a solid week, and that would just satiate people, and they wouldn't be clamoring for all this other stuff. Even like the new abilities, I understand they want to be a little bit clandestine with them, but really, what's the harm in getting them on one at a time? Because there's 2 months left. If they did a stream one a week, they can't even finish that off now. They seem way behind on the information schedule, and I just don't understand it. I really do appreciate why people are so frustrated with them. It's infuriating.
Though they've made it clear that this is their marketing beats. They're running at a certain cadence. They apparently have it all planned out. They know exactly when they're going to release everything. But as you say, there is a huge
They may
volume of
have a
stuff.
plan. They may very well have a plan on how they're going to release everything, and that's fantastic. I all come in one go and go, here you go, guys, go crazy and collect on it. But better than that is doing it consistently once a week, so everyone is constantly getting drip fed something, and they're happy with what they are. They feel at peace with the level of information they're receiving, rather than having nothing at all.
Sell. It's all about sell. I see this as like the outward face. I mean, when you're talking about, I mean, I know Cantina events are for fans and for people that are in there, but when you're in the middle of the gaming convention, it's all about sell, and it's people that may not even know what this game looks like. I think it's got lightsabers in it. They may not have any idea. So, I think this is all just part of just trying to push it out there just a little bit more, try to tease people, and it's all about the tease. Whereas for people that are in it, it looks like you're just being an a-hole. So it's like, come on, give us this stuff.
I agree with you, and I think at a Gamescom type convention, you want to push the main selling points of the game because you have a very limited window of opportunity. I get that, but there's nothing stopping them from releasing information to the existing base as it goes on. There's nothing stopping them from making a blog every Friday. They could pre-write all of these blogs and just release them on their own timeline, so the existing players understand that stuff is coming. Because currently, the level of requests that people are getting for data, like Potato Miner getting spam messages on Reddit constantly asking for specific bits of information because there's literally nothing there. So the demand is there, and that will keep players who are playing the game now subbing. Like, let's say you're a guy who likes companions or likes crafting, and you see all the stuff that's coming, you might think, you know what? I quite like that Nico Okar dude. I'm going to sub now because I want him. I'm going to play this. I like the changes coming. Any information is better than none unless the information being given is terrible, and the information that's coming is not terrible. It's good. It boggles my mind while they're doing it. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, you can market the story and go outward and have that message going to the other BioWare fans, the Dragon Age, the Mass Effect folks, the outside world, and then you can market inside. I mean, right now it kind of feels like they're trying to market sushi as dead, decaying fish to the world. But it, Lord, sometimes I think they make the IRS look good when they come to marketing, but Lord, just dribble out the information, because when you don't, it starts feeling like these systems are unfinished, that you don't know what you're doing, and that's not... When people start asking you questions, you want to give them some answers. You don't have to tell them everything. But, simple thing like, which companions are going away? Because people are starting to ask that question. I want to strip this companion before he's gone, Or how is crafting going to change? Does this matter with my gathering skills? Is it a reset? Do I need to worry about tracking down those last few patterns because I'm a completionist?
Well, all that being said, they are doing a stream at the end of this month. I believe it's on the 24th. I might be incorrect. I believe they streamed something, which I mean, that could have loads of information in there. Maybe they're going to have to start pushing it out somewhere.
But that was supposed to be a story stream for an hour, and they love to ignore questions from their chat.
Okay, they do forced alliances again, just for old time's sake.
Yeah, and a lot of those like companion questions are coming up for us too, and it's true. They're things that I think they could answer or at least hint at without giving away any of the story. If they just let us know, yeah, you should go ahead and strip your companion character of all their gear, so that you won't lose any of it, if that's a concern of yours. And then we could do that if we cared, or not, whatever. But either way, it'd be nice to have that sort of information. And same with the crew skills. I agree. That's another question that they should definitely look at answering for us before this actually goes live.
Because when we're asking the questions, we're engaged with the game. So, work with us, have that dialogue. Don't just sit there and say, "From on high, marketing shall present, and you shall worship." No, we want to know.
So I'm coming up with about 1,000 really cool ways that you could do all this, like have an obituary for Mako, like you just start posting like, there's a lot of fun stuff you could do. I think that I just feel like they're a way. I think you're right about the needing to market to inside, and that's something that I think we're failing on quite a bit, is just not marketing to the players who are already subbed, that are already playing, that are already doing it, and I think it just needs to be addressed. Please, somebody.
Anyone notice that that nod to the cross server in the Q&A?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
They asked about what about cross server? Better than cross server supposedly coming? And the answer was, they're not ignoring the issue. Something awesome is in the works.
Well, interestingly enough, I think Zamzam linked to somebody's notes, and that person said that cross-server was just too expensive for them in the current state, so they were going to do something else. So I'm like, ooh, I really hope they add a lot of people so they can afford to do this, because the game desperately needs it. I mean, especially for PvP. I'm right there with you on the ELO. They need a large pool.
I think what they're going to do with these cheap transfers is they're going to see which servers become dead, and then they're going to merge them with whatever the corresponding server is. Because once everyone has willingly moved their characters, they have less fallout to deal with, and they should do it, to be fair.
But is that, yeah, and I think that's not a bad option, and I think that's something they should look at. But why do they have to keep leading us on? I mean, that wouldn't be an awesome thing. So I don't know.
Right.
If they are thinking of some magical thing, I don't know what it might be, for one. And for two, why do they keep doing that? Because it's been like a year now that they keep dropping this out there, that they've got like
exactly.
some
That's the
awesome
same
thing coming. Yeah.
Can we just wrap this up in a nice little blanket saying the marketing team for this game is absolutely atrocious, and then just leave it, put it to one side and move on? Because it all comes back to the same issue constantly. Like, I don't know whether they hired someone out of school or something, but I have no idea how they got that job.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot to say to that, is there? They've got a certain strategy, and it's all about very much focus on one thing, because, I don't know, if you go off message, then bad things happen, or something. I don't know. Depends who they're trying to appeal to. Maybe those of us who are really invested in the game are only just a tiny proportion, and there's this vast audience out there who really don't care that much, but they're the ones that we're talking to, the single-player RPGers, whatever.
The way I always equate things to you is like an input-output. The amount of effort you put into the game you get from doing it. Someone writing a blog or doing an hour-long stream about something, we'll stick with crafting because it's a good example, is a solid bit of information that will appease the masses and stop a lot of negativity towards your game. It's an hour of your time to take away all of that negativity. And it's a solid, it's a completely brain dead choice. You do it every single time. You can do multiple streams of communication through different channels to make sure that you don't go off your main message. Like if I'm marketing a hard 18 or R-rated movie, I can still go on to daytime chat shows and talk about the overall plot to it. I don't have to tell you all the graphic details. I can still stay on point.
Yeah.
There's just so many different ways to do it. And to kind of say, well, we're so focused on the story, we're not even going to bother doing a blog about something is ridiculous. You know, it blows my mind. If I was in that office, I'd probably write by myself. Like, we've got Miner and Potato doing it. If they can do it, then the experts, they can do it. You know what I mean? It's not hard.
Maybe they've unofficially outsourced it to SWTOR Miner and SWTOR Potato.
I can even imagine.
I mean, it's a great cost saving, obviously.
The leak thing.
Conspiracy theories. Set up payment camps across the United States too. They're gonna put us all in there. Great conspiracies.
We did have a comment from Daxgar earlier in the chat, and he said, so do you guys think it is better to have a major change all in one big swoop, or trickle in a bunch of small changes all the time? So my answer to that would be, from a software developer's point of view, big bang's always a terrible, terrible idea, and it is better to do incremental changes, because whenever you do a whole lot of stuff at once, your chance of screwing anything up is vastly increased. And so they really should just be dribbling stuff out, in terms of actual content, rather than just having a big Jesus patch.
Confirmed. She was a fan of dribbling.
But does anyone have an opinion on that?
It serves the population better.
I would be opposite. I know from a lot of MMO players, they don't like constant changes with their characters and stuff. They'd rather have, here's an expansion. I know major changes are coming, but in that expansion it should be very minor tweaks because I want to learn how to play my character. I want it to be fairly stable throughout the whole thing. If it's constantly going up and down, people get unhappy. People start unsubbing. So, there's a human psychology. I mean, because I was a programmer in my former life, I understand that doing the iteration and constant refinement, and that can be a good thing, but there can be too much change for folks, and that they may not like it. They kind of want to learn how it works and go with it.
It's possible. I think in today's market, everyone's getting much more used to agile development. This is the way Google releases features into Chrome. This is the way all of your phone apps tend to get updates and features on a constant basis. So people are getting more and more comfortable with that. But there was, back in the old days especially, anytime anything changed with anyone's character, you'd get the forums flooded with, why did you break my XYZ? And people would be, that's it, I'm rage quitting, yada, yada, yada. So it's a balance. You got to walk that tightrope. I like the idea of continual addition of interesting features and content. And then part of that is you need to be fixing bugs along the way and fixing balance along the way too.
On the other hand, there's just those times in the game, like when they add a whole new thing, that big changes will come. I mean, when they add, when they add the costume designer and all those, you can't just. That's not an incremental change. They have to add the whole system at once.
Or if they change the tree system, if they change the talent trees like they did, that's a big thing, and that takes a lot of testing and it takes a lot of work and has to be done in a bigger chunk.
Yeah, and that was like one of the main things that clearly they were working on for the last expansion. That was one of the things that that was one of their focuses. So, and it did take a lot of time. So we'll see what happens this time along with not so many changes to the balance. I mean, there's not going to be any real changes to the trees or anything. They're just adding a few abilities, and then hopefully their combat team will be able to get back to making incremental balance changes.
I can't help thinking that there should be differences between the content production team and the people who build ops and the people who work on classes. There's no reason why there's just one single team doing one thing at a time.
Right.
In an ideal world.
Yeah, ideally there's a whole bunch of groups working on things all the time, but
which means more staff, more resource. Yep. Which can be a little costly.
Which means more subscribers, which means more people. Bring them in.
story, Chuck, because that's what's going to bring him in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or whatever.
You never know.
Are
Well,
the major resource for an op. You know, it's not the actual boss mechanics, it's actually building the layouts and all that, and they're also the same ones doing the story content, so you have that overlap.
yeah. It's true. It's true, but it's all just how you decide to split it up.
Do you guys intend to run the story over and over and over and over and over?
You have
I'm not
to, then if you halt.
No.
I don't think I've
no,
even
I'm
finished
saying-
Zyos on live, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I've only done Zyos once, and I mean, for me, when this whole thing drops, I'm gonna be more than likely done with my main character on Tuesday. It may not be 6 hours like it was for SWTOR, but it'll be later on that night, I'm sure. And you know, the story, like I probably do the story on the Empire side as well, just to see, but you know, I don't know if BioWare is banking on people running all 16 of their alts that they've accumulated from this 12xp stuff through to get all different kind of variations on companions or whatever. Whatever. They haven't really told us all the different stuff you can do.
Yeah.
But I'm not really looking forward to that.
It's a good question.
I think
Yeah.
what
I mean,
I'm
I know
saying is
people that have. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go on, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know people that have 35, 40 level 60 characters across multiple servers, and have you continued to do the story over and over and over again, and they're all so. There will be people that do that. There are people that do that. I've done Zyos probably 3 times, but I'm amongst the core of my guild. I've probably done it the least. So
Well,
it is a big chunk of the population that likes to do that.
and maybe they will all sub, and so it's all definitely the best thing to do.
Well, I have to now.
I honestly thought that repeatable content was the absolute key to keeping people playing, but maybe it's not. Maybe we're in the minority.
They're repeating it from 3 years ago, so yeah, I guess.
Someone in
Well, there
Steam
is
said
that.
we're going to rename Flashpoints to Flashbacks.
And it will be a flashback. Like doing Red Reaper again in hard mode is for the first time that'll be fantastic. For a while.
That's new content. That's the only
Flashback.
new content they have.
Did they have to name the PTS to the PTSD then to
No,
Do we want to end on a positive note?
Yes.
Come on, someone think of something quick.
Everything is awesome. Oh.
We hope. I mean, we hope they bring in a lot of. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, man. I told loads going.
I hope when they bring in a lot of subscribers and people stay subscribed like a gym subscription, and they get enough money that they can fund everything else that they truly want to do. But right now, it just feels like you put all your eggs in the story basket, and it's like I hope something doesn't sit on it.
What about the movie?
positive note.
Yeah. What about the movie? Is everybody excited for the movie? I mean, I think that's going to potentially be a big draw.
Absolutely. Force Awakens will be awesome.
Certainly.
This is what I was going to say. I mean, I think the timing of this, with the film coming out, having a very heavily story and kind of cinematic feel to it, you'll get a lot of players who used to play KOTOR or KOTOR 2, who just like Star Wars, will think, oh, this game just came out, I can go and pretend to be a space wizard ninja and stab people with my Star Wars sword, and it'll be cool. They feel like they're going to get into the galaxy, and then if the stuff is there, or if the framework is there for them when they get in there, which it looks like they will be with all of these old flashpoints and operations being in place, they'll probably stick around for at least a while. And as long as they can get something to hook them in that time frame, which I think is probably going to be about 2 or 3 months, then everything will be peachy for them. And if that happens, you're looking at a real resurgence in the game, where you're going to see a lot more players around, which will be a lot more money for them to invest in things. Expect, 1 million cross-guard lightsabers in the cartel market. It's going to be a good thing for the game overall. The only issue is, if it goes horribly wrong, it's going to go really horribly wrong. And that's the only real concern I've got with it.
Positive.
Yeah, but the
It'll
thing
be
is, like, for
fantastic.
people like us, we play the game not only because it's a good game, but because we're part of communities. We're either part of them or we built them ourselves. So the reason that we play is often very different to any kind of development stuff. They could remove a lot of things and I wouldn't really care. I'd still play because I like the people that I play with. So that is what they need to hook into the new players. They need to build this sense of an online world and community that they can jump in and take part of. And that's what I feel they're going to fall apart. Because I know so many people who still play WoW, even though they've hated the game for about 5 years, because they like the people who play it. And that's what they need to get involved in. Getting some events going on, getting these things where you can get your kills together, and building that sense that you are all playing the same thing at the same time. It's a perpetual world, the MMO part, away from the MO into the MMO. And I think if they can do that in a timely fashion, they'll be on to an absolute winner.
Yes, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yep. Any other final thoughts? What about from Nathan?
I think I've said enough. I honestly can't. I'm not positive, so I don't want to ruin your theme of ending on a positive note.
What about a stark warning?
What's that?
How about a stark warning for BioWare?
The warning. They know how I feel. I had one of my guildies talk to Tate, saying, Nep's all kind of cranky or whatever, and I intend to go to the cantina in October, so that'll be my last chance to corner Musco and Tate and say, hey, you can't hide from me here. Give me more drinks, but you can't hide, right? I'll take more drinks.
Let's hope they remember the MMO bits, is what it comes down to. Yeah.
I like the bits.
You're not the only one. All right.
All right.
Let's wrap up.
Okay, this has been the Galactic Gamers Coalition. Thank you for listening. And let's go through the panel and let everyone know how best to contact you. Panelist, how would folks best contact you?
You can find us at StarWarsBeyond.com and on Twitter at StarWarsBeyond.
Beautiful. Chuck, how about you and the Bad Feeling Podcast?
You can find Brian and I on the badfeelingpodcast.com as well as on Facebook and on Twitter at Bad Feeling Podcast. That's Bad Feeling Podcast, PDCST.
They ran out of letters.
That's right.
Exactly.
It happens. Snave, how about you?
You can find me streaming on most days on Hitbox. That's Hitbox, not Hotbox. Hitbox.tv/Snave. You can also find me on Tor Community. That's torcommunity.com. We're going to be leaking out what we've got so far on Full Point. There's a lot of stuff to go through, so I'm pretty sure that everyone will be interested in this, and that will be increasing pace this week. You can also find me on Twitter at Snave1208.
Beautiful. Max, how about you?
So Twitterscape Podcast, that's Seema and I, at Max the Gray and at AIESeema on Twitter. And we're hosted on newoverlords.com and stream the live show and a bunch of our ops nights on twitch.tv/newoverlords.
Awesome. And Nathan, how about you?
You can find me, Alex, and Ricard on Old Republic Radio. We're based off mocknation.com. You can find me on Twitter at NepthinORD.
Beautiful. All right, and we're Chill and Tio. You can find us at OotiniCast.com and, of course, on all the places you usually get a podcast from. Or you can follow us on Twitter at OotiniCast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next month.
All right, guys, just keep recording, and thank you everyone for watching. It's been a great turnout from our various superset of all our audiences. So, yeah, thank you very much, and for the very lively chat. And we got apparently schooled on sucking at Underlurker. It's not bugged. Not bugged.
Apparently it's not bugged, no.
All right, guys.
Good show, guys. That was fun.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. All right, stopping the stream and stopping the broadcast. Now,